But I want to spend a little bit of time on this word collaboration. Gets used a lot interchangeably. It means some things to some people and other things to other people. But I wanted to sort of give it to you from just from my perspective here. So I thought Nancy and Greg did a great job. Nancy spent a little bit of time talking about sort of tying the parking lot professionals to the warehouse architects and the RFP process, and you know that's really a change, and I really see the evolution of the PD&C RFP process, and in challenging you each time you receive an RFP. Be very mindful and careful to read the language where it speaks to inclusion of minorities and women, as well as the professional workforce side, because it speaks to both, not just the MWBE, at least the language that I put in there the other night. Did you get a chance to read that, Nancy? No. The language I put in there the other night. So really, it speaks to both of those. So the word collaboration, and I'll get to the next slide here, means to work jointly with others or together, especially in an intellectual endeavor. And I've had the unique experience of just various types of collaborations and partnerships internally and externally. I'm one that believes that we have clients both internal and external. Clients are not just external, being end users, owners, et cetera, but the folks that we use as resources inside of our organizations, I see them as clients as well, because I have to deliver for them as well as the external clients. So collaboration is very, very broad. I wanted to start with a definition. To cooperate with an agency or instrumentality to which one is not immediately connected. And so sometimes we're working with firms and other organizations and partners who are not directly part of our organization, but we still have to understand what that word means. So I went to the first photograph that gave me an inclination of what I liked about collaboration. Right, this was the Missouri Baptist Medical Center. You may hear me refer to it quite often, possibly because it was the last project that I did when I was at BJC. But it was very unique in that it was a collaboration between 6 different organizations under an integrated project delivery method. But the word collaboration is what's important, not the delivery method. And what this photograph, this is really a sampling of the team. I mean, a sampling, maybe even a third of what the entire project team represented. This was who was able to attend the topping out ceremony that we had in 2011. But what's unique about it to me is that as I look across from one end to the other, there are end users there from Missouri Baptist Medical Center, various departments. There marketing and PR, and of course we had planning, design, and construction. We had our integrated product delivery team members, HOK, KJWW, Clayco, Sachs, and Murphy, and of course our team. So this was our team. And so when I think about collaboration in its truest sense and how we implemented it, I thought of process, communication, accountability, and responsiveness. Words that sometimes get lost in the shuffle of fees and billing, and profits and staff and egos. But these were the words that were sort of in the forefront of my mind for 3 years as we delivered this project. And we were very successful in incorporating these words into our process. This is just an image of it. That was an image just of the West Pavilion, 36-month project. To the west there, to my left, is the garage, 355 cars, with the Clinical Learning Nursing Institute on top, which was actually done by Forum Studios. So David is here representing. So we had this conglomerate of people where we had to get this thing done while everything stayed open in the hospital. Everything stayed operational, from parking, logistics, and taking down. We raised both parking lots about 25 feet. It's a big soldier wall there along the, well, we're not going to get into that, but it was very complicated. It was funded through 4 different sources, 4 different EAs, in which we had to manage. And I remember being told at the beginning, when they put me on this project, they said, "You own the budget. You own it." Well, I had to take ownership of it. And with the team that we had, it was unbelievable, the results that we achieved. And from a design side, many times there are communication conflicts between your architect, your engineers, your owner, and your contractor. And historically, with this litigious industry that we're in, sometimes people are deliberately less communicative than they are because, you know, the plausible deniability thing, but we didn't have that. I remember specifically the collaboration between myself, because I represented the owner, and HOK, which was Michael Toma. Many times Mike and I were in a room or on the phone, and sometimes we argued, but there was never a time that we didn't resolve it. Not one time that we didn't resolve it amicably. Am I right, Mike? Yeah. I only remember one time that I heard Michael Thomas raise his voice at me. We worked it out. But we even did something that's even less common at the end. I got money back from my architect. When was the last time you got money back as an owner from your architectural fees? How uncommon is that? So it wasn't that was just all this money laying around, but it was the audit process that we were incorporating. You know, there was these constant reviews, and we had an architect that was willing to sit down with us and go through these costs and where we were, what we had spent to date, right, and what had not been spent, what did we anticipate spending from that point to the end. You know, that was reasonable. We had to take that into account. You know, we know there's going to be some expenditures between now and the end of the project. Let's try to establish what they might be, right? Then we had some contingency at the end. And what we didn't spend, we gave back to the BLT. And that was partnering. That was collaboration versus just saying, I'm going to take this billing, this fee, and bill you 1/12 or 1/36 until we get to the end of the 36 months. Collaboration starts with, and this is going to go real quick, collaboration starts with leadership. I see everyone in here as a leader in some respects. Some will lead a team, some will lead a firm, some you might just be leading yourself. But you are a leader. Some of you dreamed you were a leader last night. Somebody told you were a leader yesterday. But some of us actually are. The thing of it is, sometimes you can't tell. You know, I measure leadership by results. I don't measure leadership by a title. I don't. I never have. The power of a leader, as my research told me, true leaders are not those who strive to be first, but those who are first to strive and who give their all for the success of the team. Right? Team. True leaders are first to see the need, envision the plan, and empower the team. Right? See the need, envision the plan, and empower the team. Do you empower your team? Ask yourself that for action. By the strength of the leader's commitment, the power of the team is unleashed. the power of the team is unleashed. And I found over the years, I get optimum results from my team, premium results, when I empower them, right? When I can see the vision, and I can set the direction, and then allow them to go and execute. Think about that as a leader. Success is not determined by how many people that serve you. Sometimes as leaders, we get that sort of backwards. We measure ourselves and our success and our leadership based on how many people that we think serve us. If you think of it that way, that's completely backwards. How many people do you serve? Ask yourself that question right now. How many people do you serve? I found that when I serve my team and they see my undying commitment to get something done, part of my problem is I'm a perfectionist, but as some would say, a 2%er. But they have to see you. When they see that you're there after hours, when they see that you're there early in the morning, when they get an email from you 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, you know, what message is that sending other than that you may be a workaholic, but that's another story, right? But your commitment to getting things done, right? Serving your team. 3 key initial strategies for project success. I just thought this and I just dropped this stuff in here, so it's coming right out of my mind. So don't try to look it up because you won't find it. But you will have a copy of this. So to avoid misunderstandings, and I used to say this in our IPD meetings when it was 30 of us and there was an issue, and 99% of the time it was a communication gap. Someone assumed they had it. They assumed they had it. And so once you connect the dots, then you can realize who was supposed to do it, and now what's the action item, right? So to avoid those misunderstandings, always get an understanding, whether it's your contract, your invoice. Sometimes we send the invoices in and we expect them to be paid, but we didn't check them. We didn't check the math. We didn't reconcile it from the month before or the month before that. We just sent it and we want to get paid. Then we get upset when it gets held up or gets kicked back. But we didn't take the responsibility as a leader, as we should, to make sure the numbers work, that the percentages work. If you're going off of a percentage based on certain deliverables or based on certain dates and milestones, you're responsible for that. It's nobody else's problem. Always say what you mean and mean what you say. I've learned that. So I'm not as politically correct as I used to be, because I want you to know what I mean when I'm saying this is what I think the expectation is. And I can't tell you how many calls per month I get from consultants and contractors who've gotten themselves in a situation that they could have avoided if they would have simply communicated something. Was in a meeting yesterday. It was related to a PD&C project. And when I finished asking the questions, they had 10 items that was sort of a timeline. They wanted to share the timeline of the events that occurred that they felt was in sequence and how they got in the whole. But in between item 1 and 2 was where the problem was. They went all the way down to 10, and I said, your problem is right here between 1 and 2. How did you document the things that occurred between 1 and 2? How did you document that to BJC? Well, we didn't. Well, how can you expect then that the owner's going to back you up, take your side, pay your invoice, increase your scope, and it goes back to communications. Establish and maintain all levels of accountability. Sometimes as leaders, we want to be a leader. We want the position because sometimes it pays okay. We want to be the leader, but we really don't want to be accountable. There's a difference in being a leader. I hate the word boss. Being the boss and being accountable. That means that if something goes wrong, those numbers don't add up, that you're professional enough to stand before whoever you have to stand before, right? and discuss the basis of the decisions that you made. If the first thing you do when you're in a situation like that is bring this finger out and start, it was John. John was supposed to do this. I thought John was going to do this. I would have done this had I received the information from John. Question your own leadership. Does teamwork really matter? I have an article, and each of you who got, well, everybody should have received a copy of the presentation, but in with that was this article that I just found very interesting. He talked about, and this was Bob Betts, he's a senior VP of McCarthy, at least at the time of this he was. And there were three things that I just sort of focused on, where he talked about the benefits of a high-performing team. And I thought that was interesting when he coined it. You know, we all talk about team, but I like the fact that there must be something higher than that. So a higher-performing team. So I thought, that's what I want. I want a higher-performing team. Anytime I'm on a project and I have the opportunity to establish a team, if I'm part of the selection process, I want a high-performing team, not just a team. I'm not going to read this because you guys have this. If you don't have it, see Jennifer or Jessica, but everybody should have this, right? So read the benefits of a high-performing team. And it says real quickly here, high-performance team serves as a means to break down silos, right? The way we always do business. Break down the silos. We're here to protect only the company that we represent, and everybody else, you're on your own, and if you screw up, you own it, you're at risk for it. Create horizontal competence in teams. Unify disparate groups within the various organizations that you have to partner with, and focus on the project success first. And that's always something, you know, how many people can focus on the project success first? Because we live in a society that's profit driven. It is, and it's just the nature of the industry, or the whole global economy. You know, profits and fees and minimizing our G&A expenses, because at the end of the year, you know, what are you declaring, right, as profits? Because all that goes into whether or not there's any bonus structure, if you have any incentive programs in place, and all of that. And sometimes what gets lost in the shuffle is the project first. I also saw where he talked about aligning team thinking, and I don't know that I had ever seen it mentioned this way, but he had level 1 thinking, level 2 thinking, level 3 thinking. So it says, before embarking on high-performance teaming for a given project, the attitudes of project participants are assessed to understand their current state and to implement steps that help to enable individuals achieve level 3 thinking, identified as follows. I'm not going to read all three. Is there anybody that don't have this? Because I want to make sure, okay, if we got any extras, Jessica, make sure, I want to make sure you guys read this. I'm just going to hit level 1 real quick. Level 1 thinking, personal thinking, or level 1 is about personal safety, both physical safety and career safety, right? Protecting your own, protecting your job, right? We all have to do that. It's important that one feels secure in a work environment. You got to be secure in your own environment in order to create the opportunity for a person to excel, contribute, and take pride in the success of a project, right? You don't want to be on the cusp of losing your job and somebody expecting you to have level 2 thinking. It's just not going to work that way. The personal and professional needs of participants in any project have to be recognized and understood. Only in a productive, safe, level 1 working environment can a person move up and work to level 2, right? Level 1, level 2, and level 3. I'm not going to read 2 and 3, but I want you to read it. And when I say that, it's important that you do read it, because it's just so much learning in reading. And I mean reading things other than, you know, the drawings that we obviously have to produce. I'm just talking industry related, and most of you probably do, but it's amazing how much knowledge comes from reading. And, you know, we've heard that since the time that we were kids. But even now, as I approach 50 years old, did I just say that? Approaching 50 years old, how much reading really means to me throughout the day, and committing things to memory, where it's a quote or what have you. So let's keep ourselves sharp in terms of what is being said and done in the industry outside of our four walls of our business. We become the best entrepreneurs when we can understand what's going on in the industry. And you will achieve the best results on your project when you find yourself extending the hand of friendship. And most of the people who know me in this room, the first thing I do is extend the hand of friendship. That's the first thing I do. I remember when we were doing the pre-construction for phase 2, which was the fit out for MOBAP. And we went in a different direction, and so we competed the entire piece. And I had an opportunity to work for the first time with Christner. And the lead at that time was Tom Van Lendingham. He's in here today. And the first thing I remember doing was extending a hand of friendship. And I think Tom can attest to my individual approach to managing and partnering, and that if you don't establish that up front, you'll never get the performance level that you really want to get out of your architect or out of your engineer or out of your contractor or out of your team. I found that people will go to the end of the earth for you, literally. They would go to the end of the earth for you when you're the right type of leader, and they believe you're going to be with them 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. When they believe that you're going to be in their corner for that, they will go. And that's the one thing I can always rely on as a leader, is getting that performance out of my team. Communication, a couple slides on communication, and then I'm done. Collaboration failure occurs as a result of poor design management and pre-construction. Design and construction scope creep. If you've ever been on a project with me, you know that's one thing I hate, is design and construction scope creep. Overall, insufficient project planning. Lack of leadership. There it is. Lack of clear management direction and involvement. Sometimes leaders step in and they step out so fast, the team really has no clue what they really expect out of them. Let's just do it the way we've done the other ones. But when you're working for a client like BJC, the way you worked on other projects, whether it was SSM or Mercy or whoever, it's different. And everybody here knows that, but I thought I'd say it anyway. Mismanagement of expectations and lack of corrective action. You know, when you're a leader, sometimes you have to engage in that negative reinforcement. I mean, if I have a team member that's not pulling his weight, and not by where he went to school, he's not pulling his weight, right? We have a job to get done, right? We're in the Army, right? We're in the Army. We have to get to the end goal. They become baggage. And in my mind, that's a casualty of war. I have to leave you behind. And sometimes we can't do that as leaders because A, they're friends of ours. In some cases, they're family members. You know, co-workers we've been with for a long time. And it's not politically correct to do that. But that project first thinking always brings you back to, what decisions do I need to make? And if I make the wrong decisions, how will my project be impacted? All of these are functions of poor communication. So, a few industry statistics. A study found that on average, 4 out of 5 projects that are communicated with sufficient clarity and detail in the language of the audience meet their original business goals and intent, compared to just over half of projects when communications are not sufficiently clear in detail. Which half are you in? For companies engaged in large-scale complex projects, insufficient levels of communication can mean the difference between profitability and a crippling loss. And in the case of Missouri Baptist Medical Center, I think phase one was $72 million. That's the number that we went to sleep every night. Right, Nancy? Every night, $72 million. Right? And how do we stay at $72 million? Not $1 over. And so not only did we stay within it, but we gave them money back. Despite the risks, many design and construction companies admit that they're currently not placing adequate importance on effectively communicating critical project information. Why is that? As a result, projects are failing with seemingly regularity across the board. So you see how important this whole communication piece is. KPMG is a national research company. I was looking at their 2013 construction survey a month or so ago, and I pulled out, it said, although engineering and construction industry has made great strides in managing risk, 77% of the respondents to this report reported underperforming projects due primarily to delays, poor estimating, pre-construction, right, and failed communication processes. So there's clearly enough data to tell us that there's still a problem, right? And communication to me goes up to leadership, not at the project engineer level or project assistant level. It goes up to leadership. I think I may have one more slide after this. So as leaders, how do we employ strategies to mitigate our risk of project failure? Regardless of what your role is on a project, prime, second tier, third tier, trade, architect, engineer, define your delivery process. Define your delivery process. Establish clear team and individual expectations, right? Some of this will sound redundant, but you find so many people don't do it. Engage in corrective action. Be consistent and follow up with effective communication. All these words I've already mentioned, right? But you can take this slide and stick it on your wall. You got these 4 bullet points. Are you engaging in these every day? What are the takeaways? And I'm done. Predicting your success. You heard me talk about there are things that I believe you can do to predict the success of your project. I think during the years I was at BJC, I may have done 30 to 35 projects. I sort of lose count, but somewhere between 30 and 35. I gave money back on every one. The first one I ever did that we gave money back was the emergency department addition we did down at Parkland Health Center down in Farmington. The architect for that job is here, Stephen Fielder. So all these architects that I've worked with, every last one of them will tell you. Am I right, Stephen? It will tell you, if you manage it well, you communicate with your team, the results are there for the taking. They are there for the taking. So what are the takeaways? Communicate. Communicate with your team, with your owner, the end users, internal, external. Have a documentation process, a log, whether it be a phone log, some other kind of communication log. Log everything. I write down how many pencils there are. Right? When people, every time I get a question, Carlos will call me about something. Carlos, send me an email. So then I could take that communication and add to that communication and send it somewhere else so that now we have a documentation trail. And if you've ever dealt with me in that way, you know that's what I ask you. Send me an email. John, we just went through some things. John, this is what I need. This is what I need you to say, John, right? And when you respond, you will tend to get the desired effect, right? We're still working through that, but we're going to get that desired effect. Identify. Identify ways that you can continue to support your team. To identify ways to make sure you have the right people on the bus, right, and the right people in the right seat. You read Good to Great, Hedgehog Theory. The right people on the bus, and the right people, the people in the right seats, right? Identify those things that are going to force success on that project. Mitigate. Know what your contingencies are. Have some contingencies, whether it be schedule related, scope related, budget related. What happens when something goes wrong? Always be prepared. That's what mitigating is. Establish. Establish the goals, responsibilities, right? Establish an understanding, not just with your team, but whoever is contracting or engaging your firm. The worst thing you could do is argue about money in the middle of a project, or because there was some scope that wasn't clear that started out in your proposal. So as the owner, to me, it starts with you. You come to me, you want extra work. And I go back to your proposal and it's very unclear. It's ambiguous. So I take the ambiguity in the project and make it your risk because you weren't clear, right? So let's be clear. So when you run into the next guy that looks like me, then you won't have those issues, right? Lead. Lead your team, internal and external. Know what you don't know. I heard someone say not to know can be dangerous, but not to know that you don't know can be disastrous. So I believe I know what I don't know. I have people and resources that I can call because I know what I don't know, right? Being accountable. Step up to the plate. Don't just be there when things go well so that you can stand there and cut the ribbon when it's time to cut the ribbon. But be there also during the tough times when you have to have very difficult conversations with people of all types, very difficult conversations. Sometimes that is the dismissal of an employee or a team member. You know what I mean? Control your emotions. Because you are accountable for the results. And lastly, I roll all this up into one of the things that that I'm engaging in at this right now is I'm developing with the assistance of one of the toolbox architects, and they have been very willing to participate in this engagement with me, and that's Arcturus. As I talk to some of the contractors, and we talk about 3 to 5, 7-year strategic plans and growth and expansion of services and capabilities, and they talk about design build, wanting to get to a point, particularly the MEPs, to get to where they have some design build capabilities. And sometimes it's not quite design build, it's design assist, right? That's our favorite word, isn't it, Mike? Design assist, right? But developing those capabilities mean you have to be exposed to, to BIM and the whole 3D world and Revit, and many of them are not there. But Arcturus and I have met, and they have offered to establish with me a series of orientations and training to start to expose our smaller contractors to the 3D modeling world. Because you have to start somewhere. You're not generally going to go and drop 25 grand on that kind of technology, right? So we're going to start by exposing you to it, sort of the basics, why it works, how it works, and so you could start to determine its benefit for your business model, and whether or not you need to make certain changes in your business model in order to accommodate this technology. You have to go there. I don't think, long-term in this industry, you have to go there. You need this technology. And sometimes it could be a little intimidating, but you need this technology. And so I want to thank Arcturus for stepping up and working with me to help expose the warehouse firms. And I'm not just talking about warehouse architects, I'm talking all of them, because none of us are excluded from the world of BIM and class detection and all of that. So we're going to be working toward that, and you will hear some things about that in the future. But it's all an effort to do nothing but expose, right, educate, and train. That's all it's meant to do. So with that being said, our next class is in September. And what I want to be able to do before you guys get out here, if there's someone that you haven't went and met and talked to, it's 10:15. I'm about 12 minutes over my schedule. I don't like to be behind schedule at all. So, take a moment to make sure that you see the person you need to see, get their card, and you've got my phone number, Jennifer and Jessica. If you need to talk to me about anything, let's get it going. Stay strong, my friends. Thank you.